Ask AJ.
Well, and I think you have to fight the urge to change for change's sake, right? There are organizations who want to perceive themselves as a growing, evolving, continuously learning organization. I think what sometimes can happen is that you become enamored with the idea, the image that you're constantly stirring the pot, and you're not necessarily uh, making change that's based on um, you know, perhaps the rigor in determining why you're doing it, why it needs to be done, and so on. And just to your point, you're following one change after another, one transformation after another, one transition after another, and people burn out. I mean, your true transformation and even transition causes emotional ups and downs for people, right? There's the discussion of the valley of despair that people go through in significant changes, right? How many times can you drive people into the valley of despair in a short amount of time before they're never going to leave it? What ramp are you giving them to get back to um, not only a level of acceptance, but soon a level of advocacy, which is really the measure of when your change has taken hold in the organization, when your people are advocating that this is the right thing to do. We should have done this. I understand why we've done it, and it is the right thing to do. That's the Valhalla that everyone's trying to get to, obviously. So how do we help organizations do that, David? I mean, there's only so much. I think that in the engagements that we're a part of, we certainly adopt this mindset and provide this perspective. But oftentimes, you've got to have some of that start to work you know, before we get there, or it's about the organizational mindset and ethics. So how do we help people make this switch from, or at least get them to the point where they set the right level of expectations about the difference between a transformation and a transition?
So I think it starts with sort of acknowledging it's okay to do transition. I think it's fine. And as we talked about sort of off the top of this call, there's nothing wrong with it. Just don't call it transformation, frankly.
Yeah.
Stop aspiring to be something that you're not, right? I am not a major league shortstop. I would like to be a major league shortstop, but I'm not. And that's okay. And for me to be a major league shortstop, I need to transform a lot of things that I probably can't do. And so first out of the gate, if you want to get some benefit out of adopting some technology, there's nothing wrong with that. Let's be thoughtful around how we do that. Let's be thoughtful about what is the appetite the organization has for change. What are the prerequisites for success that need to be put in place? And if that's, look, I have to have some quick wins. I have to prove out the technology. I have to do something good. Nothing wrong with that. Let's then set that up for success and then say, does that establish a platform for transformation, or are you trying to establish a platform for sort of an ongoing continuous improvement, sort of ongoing transition enablement capability? That's fine. If you're looking at transformation, if that is truly what you're trying to do, then I think you hit it right on the head. The work actually starts before we get there in some regards, right? And I'll come back to, is there before we even talk about the financial investment that's required to achieve the transformation, is there the emotional investment there upfront, right? So from a leadership perspective, are they ready to undertake that degree of change? Is there a understanding of the time required to do that? From an investment perspective, are they willing to make the team available to do that? And that's not hiring someone external, by the way, as much as I love being hired to help with you. If there's not the leadership and the commitment internal to the organization, and we're going to make the folks available for the appropriate period of time, then just stop, frankly. And then, is there the patience to get through the design first, right? And you got to, all of that comes before you know, I have a budget to do anything, or I have, I want to see what the business case is,
Yeah.
right? The business case will be, in the early days of people considering a transformation, it's going to be somewhat ethereal, right? And I'll go back to the most basic of transformations that I think of, which is usually a post-merger integration exercise, right? Companies will do, before they make that purchase, make that investment, to create that partnership. There's a great deal of due diligence that's done,
Yeah.
but the value that's going to be realized from any merger, well, typically you'll see some hard dollar savings through synergy or something like that. Those are at best a guess, right? We think we've got some duplicacy in certain areas. We think we've got some synergies. We think as these comes together, we think I can do X, Y, or Z. Okay, well, then you sort of create enough momentum or faith to then take the next step. That's what that's what you need to have in place for a transformation. Now, if you're looking for certainty, you're in the wrong place, right? It's got to be a big enough benefit, something to aspire to. Take the next step. Now, you're going to continually refine that and get closer to it and get closer to it, and refine how you define value. Absolutely, you're going to do that, but you need to start before it's completely defined. Otherwise, you wait for that thing to be defined to the third decimal, you're paralyzed in that analysis phase.
Yeah.
Never.
Absolutely. Well, again, as with a lot of things, these are not new. These are not new challenges. They're perhaps made even more significant because of the types of changes we're talking about in moving to a more digital world, a more digital environment. It perhaps is getting a lot more attention. But I think that the key point for us is whether you engage us to do it or not, you have to do it. You have to change that mindset. You have to be able to narrow down the difference between a transformation and a transition so that you level set your expectations correctly about what can be accomplished. And you've got to really take seriously this idea of managing people's expectations beyond just, again, a list of canned communications that have been written. Certainly, that's a part of that change management process. But true change management is more than that. It's really helping people manage through that change, and sometimes that takes more than just memos and communiques.
I think the important part, AJ, is there's nothing new here, as you said. But the most important part of any program is don't lose sight of the people.
Yeah.
Right? It's people talk about digital transformation, and one of the risks in describing it that way is I focus on the digital and not on the transformation.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what we're doing is we're affecting jobs, we're affecting people, we're affecting families, and you can't gloss over that. And this isn't like it's a digital technology, so it's only going to affect the Generation Z group that's a rapid adoption. They love new tech, and they're going to go play with it. Stop. That's not what we're talking about. Candidly, we're talking to people like you and I, who I don't like when I get the latest Windows update. It's a pain in the ass.
Oh.
I don't. You're asking people who don't want to make some of these changes, who've been through 5 of them already. They're frustrated, and despite all the assurance you might give them, they do have a level of anxiety around what's happening around them. And I think it's just imperative to continually come back to, don't forget, this is all about people. No organization exists without them. So just keep that front and center in how you go forward, and your change management program will probably adapt itself appropriately if you keep that front and center.
That's a great place to end it. I agree 100%. David, thanks for co-authoring the piece with me. You'll be able to find the link to the article and to the other great material within Sykes Quarterly in the show notes for these episodes. And David, thanks a lot, and we'll see everybody again soon. Take care.